If you've ever played a video game in Europe, you're probably aware of the age rating system PEGI, which rates games from ages 3 to 18. And if you've ever watched a trailer for a video game in Europe, you probably recognize this voice.
PEGI 18.
Well, my guest today is the man who provided the PEGI voice. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome none other than Richard Wells. How are you doing today?
Thanks very much, Jack. I was just saying that many people know my voice. I've been doing the voiceover business for 40 years. People like my voice and they get a bit surprised, and often, if they're female, a bit disappointed when they see the face. But here it is in the flesh, the man who says PEGI 18, and indeed all the other PEGIs.
Yes, there you go. And there you go. There, he did the voice there. Yes. Just for us. Now, we'll get into your voiceover work and the PEGI work a little bit later, because I believe, first off, you actually worked in advertising, doing a bit of advertising stuff. So how did you actually get into advertising, and what sort of sector did you work in?
Okay, well, back in the day, Jack, back in the 70s, I graduated in languages. And in those days, it was dead easy to get a job. I mean, there weren't so many universities around, and there weren't so many graduates. And some of the big companies used to send people around, just interviewing people in the universities in the hope that they might accept a job. So I had about 6 jobs lined up, and none of which I was particularly keen on. One was insurance, one was in retail. And then this guy came down from this big agency in London called J. Walter Thompson. And he was like very relaxed, you know, scarf on, desert boots, say, hey, yeah, well, like, and I never thought about advertising in my life, but I thought, yeah, this was good. And he left me this brochure, which was full of all these lovely, you know, lovely women all kind of thinking about the next ad, all that kind of thing. I think, yeah, I could. And it was in Berkeley Square in London. And so I filled out the application. There was 1,600 applicants, and 6 of us got places. So I was very lucky. And then, yeah, I went through their graduate training scheme, and that's how I got into it back in the day.
Brilliant, brilliant. What sort of advertisements did you actually work on?
Oh, well, there was a very big airline then. It's now no longer in existence, called Pan Am. I did a lot of work on Pan Am. Persil washing powder. What else did I do? Courvoisier cognac. A lot of big campaigns. Horlicks, which the young people won't know, which was very big in those days. It's like a malt drink people had in the evening. So the whole gamut. You know, I used to write copy, and it was good fun. It was right at the end of the Mad Men era. So, you know, it was just mad, literally mad, you know.
Yeah.
It was great times.
Yeah, I can imagine. And were you given any sort of commissions to like write any slogans for any sort of businesses to advertise with or whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, none of which. Guinness was another one we worked on. Guinness, you know,
Ooh, nice.
Guinness, like, you'll know about that.
Absolutely.
That was a very big account of ours. Nothing that you probably remember these days, but yeah, we used to write a lot of. Mainly, I mean, those days it was just TV advertising, radio ads. Commercial radio came in while I was working in advertising. And then, of course, I went from London. I went to work in Brussels. I went to work in Singapore. I worked in Hong Kong, and ultimately in Thailand, which is when, after that, I left the advertising business.
Jesus, how did you end up going to all those countries, do the shuffle in all those places?
Well, I was kind of young and fancy free, and I just saw an ad one day in Campaign, which was the advertising trade newspaper, and just figured, okay, why not? Singapore sounds exotic. I was free as a bird, so I just let my, you know, in those days you could own a house when you were young. I let my house in London and flew off to Singapore, and from there I was then offered a job by the same agency in Hong Kong. Then I switched agencies and moved out to Bangkok, and Bangkok was fantastic. I mean, it was my last job. I was actually running the agency by that point. I was managing director. I had 60 lovely Thai people working for me. And, you know, again, the lifestyle was amazing. You know, as a foreigner in Bangkok, you had a big house, you had a housekeeper, you had a driver, you belonged to this club and that club, etc. And I remember when I decided I was going to get out of the ad business and get into doing voice work, I'd arrived back in Brussels, which is my base, and I was sitting there in a laundrette about 3 days later, watching my washing going around, thinking, "My God, what have you done?" You know. But anyway, the voice business kind of worked out okay. I've been doing it for nearly 40 years. So.
Gee. So what made you sort of go, yeah, you know what? forget the advertising. I'm going to go straight into voiceover and do that.
Well, two things. I'd always acted. I don't really wanted to be an actor when I left school. My parents, of course, being a bit old school, said, "Yeah, you've got to get a degree, etc." And so then I just kind of fell into it. But I'd always done it. I'd always been very good at sort of voices and accents. When we did French at school, I could. My French accent was better than the teachers, and I just had that ear for it. And when I was working in Brussels in advertising, a bit of an anecdote here, but in those days there was a certain amount of rather sort of semi-erotic material coming out of Germany, and it had to be dubbed into English. And so even when I was in Brussels working in advertising, because through the theatre, etc., a group of us would be dubbing these rather risque films. That's how actually the very first jobs that I did. So if you ever see My Swedish Meatball or Banging in Bangkok, that'll be me.
Oh God Almighty!
But, yeah.
Banging in Bangkok. That is a name, all right.
That was one of my high spots. Yeah, and then so but to answer the question, I told you I was managing the agency. Now, when I got into advertising, I got into it because I wanted to do advertising. And of course, like many jobs, you just get promoted. And then finally, I was running an agency. And I was a terrible manager, actually. I mean, I like people to like me. And so I thought, I could do it for another 30 years, but would I really be happy? And I thought, well, I'd lived in Brussels and I knew there was a big demand for English. And it was just when VHS video was coming in. So all these companies were making corporate videos. And there was a big need for English. And I thought, well, look, I'll go there. Should I go to LA, New York? No, too much competition. I knew there wasn't much competition in Brussels, but I knew there was a big demand. So that's where I went. I thought I'll try it for 6 months. And that was in 1986. So what's that, 38 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, gee. And that would have been exactly when VHSs were coming in.
Absolutely.
So absolute perfect timing.
Yeah. It was great. So, most of the work at that time still isn't in many cases very glamorous, but it was good bread and butter stuff, And as I said, big demand, not a lot of supply. There were 2 or 3 of us doing that in Brussels at the time, and so very quickly people got to know us, and and that's how you establish a reputation.
Exactly. And over the almost 40 years that you've been a voiceover artist and all that, what were the sort of different types of voiceover gigs that you've done, regarding all sorts of stuff that you do?
Okay, well, it literally is all sorts of stuff. I mean, what have I done? In the last couple of days, I've done a very interesting audio guide for an exhibition about Leonardo da Vinci, which was really, really interesting. Followed up by a lot of pages about VAT registration in Switzerland, which is really fascinating, as you can imagine. But a lot of, I said before, a lot of the business is not glamorous. It's e-learning, it's exhibition guides, a lot of corporate videos. There's not a lot of, for me, there's not a lot of film dubbing work because, in English, most people tend to watch a film in its original language with a subtitle. So my French colleagues get a lot of Italian and German colleagues get a lot of dubbing work because they tend to dub their films and TV things. But for us Brits, it's not that common.
Yeah.
But funny things happen because I went to university in Wales. I don't speak Welsh, but I can sort of sound like I do. And I can also pronounce that very long name in Welsh, the name of that railway station. And a Dutch agent rang me the other day and said, Richard, do you know anybody who can say this word? And he showed me. And I said, oh, you mean Llanfairpwll Cwngleithgo Gerich Wyn Robl Plant Isilio Gogo Goch? I said, no, I don't think I know.
Brilliant.
But I've played I've played a potato. I do all sorts of funny voices for various things. Quite a bit of advertising as well. So it's a whole gamut, really. I mean, but it's, as I say, most of it is really not very glamorous, but it's good bread and butter stuff. I work probably every day doing something. And the PEGI 18 thing just happened in the course of of a day. I mean, I think I was doing a couple of other jobs for that studio that day, and they said, "Oh, could you just do this PEGI 7, PEGI 3, PEGI 7?" I said, "Yeah, sure, okay." I did that and never thought anything more about it.
Gee, so that kind of leads me on to the sort of PEGI thing, because
Yeah.
you kind of somewhat answered what I was going to ask you, which was,
sorry.
how did how did you get to be the PEGI voice? And it just seems to be there was just last minute throwaway sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the PEGI organization. PEGI stands for Pan-European Game Information. Okay, and it's age guidance for videos, and their office is in Brussels. And through a studio that I work for, who I guess knew someone who worked for that organization at the time, they said, and of course it's not just in English. I think they've got it in several languages, although English is the main one that's heard. Yeah, and they just sent a script through. It was in the early days of home studios. I mean, up until the mid 20s. You used to have to, a voice would have to go to a studio to record. But about the middle of around 2008, 2009, home studios came in, where a lot of us then could work from our homes. And indeed, that one, just a script came in on the internet, and it just said, "Can you do these?" And that's what I did. And then I forgot about it. That was it. And then, of course, it was originally only aimed at being for TV advertising in Europe. But then, of course, that was before the streaming services and the YouTubes and the widespread on the internet, which is why, and that's what started me getting interested again, because I would say to people who were not necessarily English speaking, have you ever heard this? And I just go, PEGI 18, and literally they go, "That's you?" And then, immediately asked for a selfie. And I thought, God, this is amazing. And that, that's what led me to put that little thing on TikTok. And I still can't quite get over it.
Yeah. There was also like a short little infomercial that was done for the PEGI adverts as well. Do you remember doing that? It was very short. It was like 15 seconds of dialogue that you had. What was that like?
I do. In fact, I think looking at my diary back then, I think I did I think the actual phrase was, this game is rated PEGI 18. This game is rated PEGI 7. So I did those first. And then a couple of months later, I did that. I think it was a 30-second ad telling people exactly what PEGI is. Yeah. And I did that, I think, in a studio rather than in my home studio. Because I think I was speaking to the picture, which I can't do in my own studio. So I did it in a very nice studio in Ghent called Voiceovers. Good name, Voiceovers.
Yeah.
.eu in Ghent. So if you're listening, Martin, that's your plug.
Brilliant. And as you said, you posted a TikTok, you even posted a YouTube video a few years back as well, saying that I'm the man. And all of a sudden, this TikTok one blew up, getting like 20 million views, seen internationally, newspaper articles and everything.
My Bible, Reddit, everybody's...
Yeah. What was your reaction to that TikTok getting so much coverage like that?
I still cannot quite believe it. I mean, I'm not a regular on TikTok. Well, hopefully I am now. But I haven't seen too many posts that have, particularly first posts, that have got 20 million views. I don't know how common it is, but it just staggered. I mean, I put it on there, and as you could tell by the video, I'm a complete novice at doing this kind of thing. And I just put it on there. I thought maybe I'll get, a lot of people know it. I know, so maybe 2,000 or 3,000. And I saw in the first sort of 5 minutes, I got 5 and 6, and then sort of forgot about it until people started contacting me and saying, "Whoa, what's this?" And then it was just going all the time. So yeah, well, you can tell how useless I am. I put the same video on twice. So most people liked the first one. That was about 17 million, and then about 3 million the second one. And it's still going on now. I mean, I haven't got my phone here, but people are still following it. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, so many people, like tons of people, over and over and over. Even video game companies like Ubisoft message saying, "Great to see that you're the voice." And I had someone only a few days ago, just one of my friends, Jack, and I just said, oh, you know that PEGI voiceover guy? You know him, the PEGI 18 guy who went viral? He's like, yeah. I said, oh, I'm interviewing him. And he was like, oh, that's class, man. You know, all of a sudden, everyone cares.
Yeah. No, it's phenomenal. I mean, the thing is, Jack, I mean, I don't know where it's going to go from here. I mean, you know, people's reaction was fantastic to know it was the face. Whether or not they're going to be interested in anything I have to say subsequently, I don't know. But I'll be posting from time to time when I find things that might be of interest, and we'll see where it goes. But already, I mean, the fact that I have I think it's 170,000 followers right now as we speak. So I'm so grateful. And the other thing is, and I said this, I think, in my second video, the kind of messages I was getting was wonderful. I mean, the people saying, oh, the voice of my childhood, you're a legend, you're great, fantastic, thanks. I mean, it was two little words, you know. I mean, as I said in the video, of all the millions of words I've spoken in my career, who knew those two little words were going to get 20 million views on a social media channel? Crazy. We live in a crazy world, Jack, my friend.
And some have even wondered about your PEGI voice recording. How much were you paid for it? Because it seems a bit more exposure than anything else.
That is a good question. I thought to myself, I wonder, I didn't remember how much I most paid. It wasn't very much. And I thought, I'm going to check that out. Now, in my office, in a cupboard, in another room, actually, I've got all the invoices that I sent in the days of paper invoices going back to about, 2005. And I thought, I'll never find that. I couldn't remember when I'd done it. I thought, I'll never find that invoice. Believe you me, I open the cupboard, the first packet of paper I take out, I turn over 3 pages, and I find the invoice for the PEGI 3712, etc. recording, and it was 200 euros.
200?
200 euros. Now, obviously, in those days, that was just going to be on the back of a television ad. Nobody obviously realized in those days, least of all me, that we're talking about this global phenomenon. So I am in discussions with PEGI, actually, as we speak, that I might get a bit more.
Well, that's good news.
What do you think, Jack? Do you think I should get paid a bit more?
Well, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. I don't have any money on me, Richard. Sorry.
No, Carrie. No, but it's funny. A lot of people were saying, sending me a message saying, "Do you get paid every time you hear it?" I'm going, "I wish I would be speaking to you from a yacht in the Bahamas if I was." But, no, I got a modest fee.
Yeah. Well, look, great that you're in discussion anyway and getting maybe a little bit more. So hopefully you get more, because I think a lot of new fans of you will be happy about that.
Well, that's great. Yeah, and I'm very happy about my new fans. And and the other thing I just wanted to make, and I said that in the follow-up video to the initial one, is that I just hope that people are really kind on the internet. People have been so kind to me, and yet you hear so many stories about bullying and harassment and trolling. It's just not necessary, is it? I mean, life's difficult enough for people these days without having anonymous people, firing off shots across the bow, being nasty. Just be kind. If you can't be kind, just leave it alone. That's what I say.
And as well as that, probably a question that a lot of people would have for you, and that would be, have you ever actually played a video game, specifically one that's PEGI rated?
I have to confess, Jack, I have never even held a console. No, I have never played a video game. I was, how old was I when I recorded that? Well, I was in my 50s anyway when I recorded the thing. So, video games, they're not in my age group. Really. My son did. I mean, my son is 25 now. He played a lot of FIFA. I watched him play. But no, I've never played a video game. I've never actually voiced a character in a video game either, actually.
Either.
So if there are any producers out there watching this, I am available. I can do lots of voices and accents. So I'd love to do one, but I haven't actually been asked to do one.
Yeah, I say probably some indie developers would probably be happy, like real small developers, because you see every now and again indie developers, they'll go try get a big deal name or whatnot, or they'll try get someone. So, indie developers, if you're looking for the PEGI voice, you know who to call.
Yeah, and any other voice you like as well, yeah.
And probably my last thing I'll say about the PEGI stuff, and then we'll move on to your other work as well. In America, there's actually a different age rating system called the ESRB, but they also have their own narrator saying a line as well. Yes.
It's not me.
It's not. But we're going to change that, because I would love to ask you, could you say in your PEGI voice, rated M for mature?
Yes. Do you want it in English or American? English.
English.
Yeah, okay. Rated M for mature.
Hey, there we go. He's done it.
Or I could say in American, rated M for mature.
There you go. Well, ESRB, there you go. You're looking for a new voice. Richard's the man. Oh, that was brilliant. I think that was the crossover of the week.
Oh, I didn't realize they had a different rating system, actually.
Yeah, they do. PEGI's only in Europe, and then ESRB's for like America and a few other places. And Japan have their own age rating system.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
Right, but I guess, I mean, because of the internet, the PEGI thing is heard all over the world, because all the people that send me messages are from, South America, North America, Asia, all over the place. They hear it on YouTube and on the internet. Yeah,
I'm guessing they probably went to a European-based YouTube channel, watched the trailer there, and heard your voice there.
Right. Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be on American television, that's for sure.
No. Sure. But I mean, I guess people don't watch too much TV anyway, live terrestrial TV anyway. I guess most people young people anyway, get their information from the internet some way or other.
Now, let's move away from the PEGI stuff, because there's only so much you can talk about PEGI 18.
Exactly. Those two words, we've done well so far.
Exactly. So you've worked on a few other things as well. I believe, actually, you worked for a little tiny while for the BBC World Service as a newsreader. Yes. What was it like working on that?
Oh, that was, nightmare. The reason I did it was... I was still living in Brussels. My wife, who is a very distinguished TV journalist, we got married in Brussels, and then she was employed by Channel 4 News in the UK to present the news belt. I don't know if you watch Channel 4 News. Jon Snow for many, many years was the presenter, and my wife for a number of years was the other presenter on Channel 4 News.
Oh,
and so she. And we then had a young baby as well. So I would commute every week to the UK for 3 or 4 days. And my wife's cousin worked at the BBC World Service, and she managed to get me an interview to be a announcer, newsreader at the World Service. And when I say it was a nightmare, I mean, I'm used to going into a studio and having somebody on the other side of the glass doing all the knobs and whistles, and they give me a script and say, go, and I do it. Well, not at the World Service. At the World Service, it is what they call self-operating. So you go into your announcer studio, you've got all the knobs and whistles and levels and faders and goodness knows what. You've also got, in those days as well, a record player, as well as these slots to put the optical discs in. And you've got to run the whole desk as well as do the announcing. So it is a nightmare. I mean, they gave me a little bit of training, probably not enough. But I remember the first, because, I mean, the World Service has got more listeners than any other radio station, literally, in the world. They're all over India and China, the subcontinent, I mean, millions and millions of listeners. So when you're the only voice at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're running the flipping thing. You've really got to make sure you've got the right program on and it's not going to overrun, and then the news is coming in, and also because transmitters are coming in around the world, you've not got to be talking at 20 minutes past or 40 minutes. It's an absolute nightmare. And then, as well as doing the continuity announcing after 3 hours, you then race down to the newsroom, prepare your own 5-minute news bulletin, right, and try and time it and hope it's not going to overrun. And then you get into the news studio and then it's 11 hours Greenwich Mean Time, BBC World Service, the news, read by Richard Wells. And then you go into your 5 minutes and you hope to goodness that you're not. And then sometimes you've timed it wrong, so it comes too short. So you've always got to prepare a sort of backup story to, I tell you, and for that, I tell you, this was in I guess it would have been in 1990, mid-90s. for doing a 12-hour shift overnight at BBC World Service with the biggest audience in the world, I was paid £1 an hour.
What?
Sorry, I mean £1 every 5 minutes, £12 an hour.
Oh, £12 a bit different.
£12 an hour. No, £1 an hour. No, I mean, unbelievable.
Gee.
But it was a thrilling thing to do, because to work for the World Service, it's kind of like a bit of a feather in your cap.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because it is, in its name, a world service. So to be on the radio doing that and everything,
and even more, obviously, in those days, before the internet, people were getting their news. If you lived in India, if you wanted news you could trust, you listened to the World Service, and the same all over the world.
Yeah,
it was great fun, but it was pretty high pressure.
Absolutely. High demand stuff as well. I was trying to actually find some audio clips of you presenting at the BBC World Service. Is there any available out there? I was trying to look, I couldn't find any.
It's a long time ago, Jack. I mean, I think the last time I worked there was in 1997. So, we're talking 25 years. I don't think there'll be much.
Yeah. It's just was wondering, because, because it would be nice to see how you performed live on the spot with that much pressure on your back.
Yeah, I think I did. I'll have to have a look for it. I think on the last shift that I worked there, I think I did. I put a video camera on the console in front of me, and I think I took some video. Now, where that is, I'm not sure, but it'll be I can see if I can dig it out somewhere. It's got to be around somewhere.
Oh, you gotta dig that one out. That sounds class.
You won't recognize me. I had sort of brown hair and looking very, very young in those days. But I think it's got to be around somewhere.
You've done some other commercials as well. What other sort of commercials did you work on? I believe one of them was a Coca-Cola related corporate thing and a Carlsberg related thing.
Yeah, Heineken. Gosh, when people ask me that, I always go completely blank, because I can't remember what I did yesterday, let alone before. I've done a lot of stuff. Obviously, being in Belgium, I've done a lot of Belgian advertising for the electricity company, for Sabina, the airline back in the day, British Airways I've worked on, so many things. Funnily enough, the highest paid commercial I ever did, way back, maybe 15 years ago, around the PEGI time, it was when voice synthesis was coming in, where you could take certain paragraphs and resynthesize the voice, a little bit like AI, but back in the day. And there was an aftershave product in America, very old product called Old Spice, and they were relaunching Old Spice, and it was featuring a guy who was a robot, and they wanted to use my synthesized voice as the voice of the robot, talking somewhat like that with an American accent. And fortunately, when I'd done the recordings for this voice synthesis, I had specified that it could be used for anything but advertising. And so the Old Spice company, who were running this campaign in America, wanted to use the voice, but it wasn't licensed to use. So they had to pay me quite a lot of money for doing no work at all, which was the best kind of payment to get. But yeah, I mean, all sorts of different ads from time to time. Gosh, I can't even remember. But yes, some quite big names. But the thing is nowadays that a lot of advertisers want to use famous people or recognizable people doing TV advertising. And I can look at the ITV advertising and name half the people who are actually doing the voiceovers now. It wasn't like that back in the day. A lot of them are well-known actors, but way back, an actor would say, well, I couldn't possibly be doing an advertisement, darling. I wouldn't stoop to do an advertisement. And now, they're queuing up basically to do it because the money's there. It's a bit like Hollywood. They nowadays when they're making animations, they always use famous people. Audiobooks, same thing. If you've got a big selling book and it goes an audiobook, they want to have Stephen Fry do it, not some unknown guy.
Yeah.
That's the point. But listen, I'm not complaining. by any means. I work every day doing, as I say, audio guides, corporate videos, e-learning programs, announcements for various things. You know, I'm very, very lucky to have had a really, really good career. As I said in a recent video on TikTok, however, I wouldn't necessarily go into it these days, because of things like AI, and because anybody these days with an iPhone as a cinematographer, anybody with a microphone can be a voiceover. So the whole area is a lot more cluttered than it used to be. And so making a career in voiceover these days, I'm not sure.
So you wouldn't be entirely sure, even in Brussels where you live, if you started now.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do it. No. Because of AI. I mean, I think I've lost a couple of clients to AI voices, but the problem with AI is it's fine for doing basic stuff, but the minute you need some intention, some emphasis, some interpretation, some acting, and some pronunciation of product names and foreign names, etc., AI still isn't there. But that's now. I mean, in another 5 years, maybe it will be there. But what is interesting, a spin-off from my voice acting career is my film and TV acting career.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, lots of TV productions and film productions happen in Belgium because Belgium gives very good subsidies to productions. The deal being that you have to employ Belgian crew and a certain amount of Belgian actors. Now, I happen to have Belgian nationality as well as being British because of Brexit. And so I often play, small supporting roles and sometimes slightly bigger roles in film and TV. A recent film I did was The Last Front, starring Ian Glenn. That's a Belgian First World War picture. We just had a premiere for that in in Ghent a couple of weeks ago. I was in a Hallmark romantic movie which came out. I'd never heard of Hallmark movies until I was in one, but that was great fun. I played the head of MI7 that turned out to be a pretty bad guy. Little TV episodes, it's happening. And indeed, I was in a film which isn't out yet called, or I am in a film which isn't out yet called God's Spy. And it's about Jewish persecution during the Second World War. And it's based on a true story in which a German priest went to England to try and get the Church of England on side against Hitler and what he was doing to the Jews. And we were due to shoot it in Belgium. It was one day's work. I had about 5 lines as a bishop. And anyway, just before the shoot, they rang and said, look, we've had to reschedule it now. So we're going to be shooting a couple of weeks later in Limerick in Ireland.
Ah.
So I said, well, okay, well, you're going to shoot. You're not going to use me, are you? Surely, if you can't find a bishop in Ireland, where are you going to find one? They said, no, the director wants you. So, they fly me to Dublin. I get a chauffeur-driven car across country down to Limerick, stay in a lovely hotel. Can't remember the name of it. It was a 4 or 5-star hotel in Limerick. We shoot for a couple of days. They ferry me back and fly me back, and it's fantastic. The great thing about, even if you're playing a small part in a film, is that actors are actors. So if you've got a small part or a big part, everybody's treated the same. So you get your trailer, you get your assistant, you get all the kind of trappings, which is great fun. So yeah, I'm doing quite a lot of that, and so that's a little sideline, if you like, from my voice acting work.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and great little stories there you have of all the movies that you've been working on at the moment. What was it like actually being in Ireland? What was it? What did you think of our place?
Well, listen, I pride myself on doing accents and having a good ear for them, but I tell you, those drivers that were driving me from Dublin down to Limerick, I could hardly understand a word he's saying. What happened there? And I've never said, excuse me, sorry, what was that? It was kind of rude because they had such thick dub accents, and they were great crack, I think is the word. But no, I loved it. And Limerick's pretty with the river running through it, and we shot in a very nice big country house out there, and it was, well, Irish people are great fun. Great fun. I had a great time.
That was good. That's good to hear. Good to hear. Well, you're always welcome back. You're always welcome back.
Thank you. I had only ever been to Ireland once before, and it happened to be for a wedding some years ago. Well, I'll tell you when it was. It was the night that Ireland beat Italy in the World Cup, Football World Cup, and the pandemonium that went on in Dublin that night. We didn't get a wink of sleep. We couldn't. I mean, they were just going, Italy. There's no way Ireland was going to beat Italy at football, but they did, and it was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the only time I've been.
Yeah. Very good, very good. And have you ever read like an audiobook and voiced in anything like that?
I have been asked to, Jack, but I haven't done so far, mainly because it's not very well paid. It's a lot of work. And to be honest, the people who would ask me to do an audiobook, because I'm not a well-known person, are not sort of famous authors or anything, so their budgets are not very big usually. And it is an awful to read a 300-page book is an awful lot of work, and so I've kind of declined so far, just because I've been busy doing other things. But one or two interesting things have come out of the TikTok adventure. A couple of potential jobs, which is very nice. A couple of agents have asked to sign me up as well, which is good.
Oh,
yeah.
That's absolutely mad that only in like the last week you have all these people who are going and messaging you, including myself, saying, yeah, let's go and do an interview. Gee, that's crazy.
It's extraordinary. I went, in Belgium, there's a Comic-Con called Facts. It happens twice a year. Big event in a huge big space in Ghent. And I'd done a few voiceovers for that, with the mystery of my darling and all this going on. And so they said, do you want to come along into the VIP section and things? And I'm going, well, I'm not sure it's my thing, Comic-Con. I went along and it was fantastic. I mean, the outfits that these people put on and the commitment they make and the fandom, we had a couple of people from Harry Potter there. And I just could not believe it. I really, really, really enjoyed it so much.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And speaking of conventions and all that, if a convention invited you to go and do like a little meet and greet thing, would you go do that?
I'd be there like a shot. Absolutely. I'd love to do that. Yeah, why not? I did a little thing on, I did have a cameo thing for a while. And then for some reason, they said, I did it via the French cameo people, and they said they were not operating anymore. So I don't do it. But I'm going to hopefully do another cameo site so people can get personal messages. No, but I'd love to do it. I'd love to be in a Comic-Con. Yeah, anytime.
Yeah. And I heard a lot of people were looking for you to do a little cameo thing. So there you go. If he gets that set up, you'll get him to wish you a happy birthday. Happy PEGI 45th birthday.
Yeah, especially if your mother's called Peggy.
Oh, that'd be even better.
PEGI 57.
Oh my God. And I suppose the last sort of question that I'll leave it off with today is one a bit more to do with advice on getting into voiceover, because there's probably a lot of people now who are like, gee, this man's been doing it for so many years now. For maybe the last while he's been an unsung hero, and now all of a sudden he's everyone knows him all of a sudden. So what advice would you give to anyone who's up and coming and wants to get into voiceover, even with all the setbacks like the AI stuff that you were mentioning?
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's dead easy, isn't it? I did a little post on this. I touched on this the other day. I said earlier, anybody with an iPhone is a cinematographer. Anybody with a microphone can be a voiceover. It's actually, to get into it, it's quite easy. It's a very busy market, but yes, you can find voice trainers online, and maybe that's a way to go. But the best thing, in my view, is to learn by doing. Now, if you subscribe to one of the many websites, top of my head, voice123.com, voices.com, there's an outfit in Germany called Bodalgo. you can sign up to these organizations, and if you sign up as a free member, then you will get sent auditions, but you'll very often find that this is only available to a paid up member. But for a small fee every month, you can get sent auditions. Now, in order to set up a home studio, you don't need much. Microphones are very good these days. For a couple of $100, you can buy yourself a decent microphone. I'm happening to be using a Rode mic, which is very good.
Hey. This microphone here was about $50.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. An awful lot of rubbish talked about, oh, you got to spend $1,000. No, you don't need to spend $1,000. The microphones are very good. A good USB mic, a laptop computer, a bit of free software. I tend to use Audacity, which is very common. It's very, very easy to use, cut and paste. And somewhere quiet. And if you haven't got somewhere quiet, or even if you have, you can get a big cardboard box, line it with a bit of foam that you can get in B&Q, stick your microphone in there, and pretty much most of the time that'll do. So the actual mechanics of it are very, very easy. Having done that, if you then sign up to one of these websites, get some practice in, just keep practicing doing auditions, even if they're not paid very much, even if some of them are student jobs, and just really get good at it until you feel confident. And then start, maybe, sign up for a couple of months to one of these websites, start getting auditions, submitting. Again, it's a bit like us, even if you're a pro, it's a bit like asking people to dance. 9 out of 10 is going to say no, but then you'll get one. And that might turn into a regular client. And really, that's the way in. And of course, it's much easier now than it's ever been. On the other hand, as the downside is that, a lot of people are doing it. But if you want to do it, just do it and enjoy it. Lucy, I'm going to show you Lucy. Lucy's come to say hello.
Hello, Lucy.
Hi, Lulu. Say hello to the people. Lulu is our beloved cat. She's 16 years old, but she's in good shape.
Gee, well, she looks it anyway. That's for sure.
Yeah. So yes, if you want to be a voiceover, why not? It's not gonna cost you much. Have a go at it, and you might just be lucky. But in terms of, I saw a quite a well-known voiceover the other day on YouTube, offering lessons and saying carving out a voiceover career. I don't know about carving out it, promising someone to carve out a career these days. I think it's there is, because of the internet and because of the fact that there's not a lot of terrestrial TV anymore, but there is a lot of communication. Yes, there's quite a lot of demand, but it's not terribly well paid demand. Back in the day, if you're doing a TV ad, then you would get a very, very good payment, and you get residuals and that. Well, all that kind of thing's gone. So it's like the acting market. It's just very, very tough. But why not?
Yeah.
The mechanics are there of the internet. Get into it. Buy yourself a microphone. Get a bit of software. Do it.
Yeah. Try it at least.
Try it at least. Yeah.
See if you can do it.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, you can get coaching in these things. You can get vocal coaching, etc. But I mean, I really can't talk about that because I've never had any training. I wouldn't know how to start to train someone. Anyway, to me, it's something that you kind of do naturally.
Yeah.
But,
No, I've been to training. So it depends on the person you have that trains you. Like some are good, some aren't. I think. Not that I didn't need it, like it helped, but I think I probably already had the skills to do something with my voice.
Well, clearly, yeah.
Yeah, clearly. So,
I think you have to have that sort of, not like, I've got a great voice, because a lot of it, in the bread and butter game is sight reading. So, so you can go into a studio or get sent 5 pages on medium pressure gas distribution or something that you have to read for some company. Well, you really have to have the confidence to be able to read that like you wrote it.
Absolutely.
And that's really where the skill comes in. And that's why you need a lot of practice to get the confidence to be able to do that kind of thing.
Absolutely, because you see people who read a script and then it looks like they are reading the script, and it's like, oh,
absolutely,
God.
All the time. Yeah. That's what I was talking about earlier about intent. A lot of people just get mesmerized by a lot of words on a page. You really need to, even if it's dull stuff, you really need to intend to communicate to that. Maybe just a handful of people that need to hear that. You have to have that intent and that confidence to actually talk to them via the microphone.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have to agree with you on that. Yeah. Well, look, Richard, we could be talking all day about your voiceover career, but we got to end it somewhere. So, Richard, thank you very much for coming on. Is there any sort of last thing that you would like to say, and would you like to plug in the old socials?
Yes, I would like to say again, thank you to all you mad people out there who bothered to like my posts. Thank you for all the fantastic messages you've sent. I will keep on posting, probably not every day, because probably you don't want to listen to what I have to say. But if I find something of interest, of course, I'll be back on there. Thanks to Jack as well for having me. I'm really, really honored, blimey, to be interviewed about my voiceover career. But yeah, and I guess my last message is, as I said before, when you communicate on the internet, just be kind, basically. Just be nice to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That will do. That is brilliant, okay. Richard. Well, you can follow me simply on my YouTube channel, Jack Lucas Caffrey. I'm also available on Facebook and Instagram, where I'll be posting highlights of all the interviews I've done. You can also follow Richard on TikTok as well. So, Richard, thank you very much. And yes, I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, Jack. It's been a pleasure.